Eugene has always felt like being accompanied by an undetermined presence whenever he goes to this garden coffee shop that he frequents for studying, but feeling being accompanied only whenever he sits at this specific nook. The arbor nook decorated with vines and flowers and with a table that only fits 2 people. But after a while, the undetermined presence has grown on Eugene that it doesn't spook him anymore. Instead, he finds it strangely comforting. Then one day, Eugene starts sensing something more. At the corner of his eye, behind his laptop monitor, Eugene makes out a faint steam rising up from across the table. Eugene slowly slides his laptop aside while remaining fixated on the steam. It is indeed rising up from the table, but it appeared out of nowhere. Eugene looks under the table. Nada. Eugene looks back up on the table again. A faint vanishing image of a white cup of coffee on a small white saucer starts to fade in and out, right underneath the steam. Startled, Eugene hits his head against the table by accident. Eugene slowly gets back up onto his seat while keeping his gaze fixated at the bottom of the steam. Then slowly, the cup of coffee fades in fully, out of nowhere, right in front of Eugene. Eugene's eyes widen in shock. "Hologram?" Eugene asks out loud. Then he looks up, down, and around for projectors. Nada. But the full image looks too real to be a hologram. Overflowing with curiosity, Eugene slowly reaches his hand out, first towards the steam, which as expected feels like nothing. Then he moves onto the cup of coffee, anticipating it to be hot or warm. But to Eugene's bafflement, his hand goes through the cup, unable to touch it at all. "Hologram," Eugene exclaims one more time, a little frustrated this time. But then, Eugene's sense of smell suddenly comes into play. A hint of roasted macadamia, a hint of honey, a hint of caramel. Eugene looks down at his own cup of coffee, pure black, no cream, no sugar, definitely not it. Eugene then leans his nose forward towards the hologram cup of coffee. It is it. A hint of roasted macadamia, a hint of honey, a hint of caramel. To make sure he isn't going crazy, Eugene stands up to call over for a barista just to confirm what he is seeing. But then another image starts to slowly fade in front of him. This time, it's a girl, a full image of a girl. The girl seems to be around Eugene's age, perhaps another student. The girl is staring wide-eyed at Eugene. One hand each both firmly clasped onto the cup of coffee and the saucer. The girl seems nervous, might be an understatement. She's frozen in place, but her eyes seem shaky. Eugene stops himself from calling the barista over, and while staring back at the girl in front of him, he slowly retreats back onto his seat. Clara freezes in place as the guy from across her table reaches his hand out towards her cup of coffee. "You can't touch, but can you actually see me?" The question echoes deeply in Clara's head. She wants to ask the guy. Clara contemplates for several minutes but decides to go for it. Clara receives a response of, "What? I can't hear you," from the guy, or at least that's what she can make out from his lips. Clara cannot hear the guy's voice either. "We can see each other, but we cannot hear nor touch each other," Clara whispers out loud while staring at the guy. Clara takes out a pen and a notepad and starts scribbling. "What else can you see around me besides my cup of coffee?" Clara then shows what she has written on her notepad to the guy. The guy shakes his head in response, then also takes out a pen and a notepad. "Nothing else besides the coffee shop," the guy writes on his notepad and shows it to Clara. "Coffee shop? Are you right now perhaps in a coffee shop?" Clara asks out loud, then looks around her. Clara is in a train station, sitting at an outside table. The coffee shop where she bought her coffee from is a little further away behind the guy's back. "I'm not in a coffee shop. You can't fully see through either," Clara whispers out loud one more time. Knowing how the guy cannot hear her, her statement is more like a realization to herself instead of information to the guy. Eugene has been having a full-on conversation over pen and notepad with this girl, Clara, at the coffee shop. The girl who appeared in front of him on his table like a hologram, except she isn't. She happens to be real, but Eugene cannot seem to touch nor hear her. She alone is a mystery, but her questions are even more mysterious to Eugene. Clara keeps asking Eugene about his senses, particularly his sixth sense, or things he senses that are out of his world or beyond his comprehension. Be careful of how much you can see beyond. They could come after you, and if you touch anything beyond, they will definitely come after you. Clara writes on her notepad and shows it to Eugene. "What do you mean beyond? And who's going to come after me?" Eugene writes in return. "Beyond these walls," Clara writes down, then points with her finger at a blank space in between her and Eugene. Eugene reaches his finger at the same spot in the air where Clara is pointing at, meeting Clara's finger. Both Eugene and Clara fall back onto their seats, startled. They just touched fingers and they both felt it. "They're coming after you. Get out of there, now!" Clara scurries to write down on her notepad and shows it to Eugene. Worried is an understatement. Fear is plastered all over her face. Eugene still cannot comprehend what entirely is going on, but upon Clara's insistence, he packs his things and hurries out of the coffee shop. Not even a minute after he gets out, a shiny black van pulls right in front of the coffee shop. 6 men in black get out of the van and storm into the coffee shop. They look intimidating, and Eugene wants to find out more. So instead of running away, Eugene takes hiding at the side of the coffee shop and tries to peek through the glass windows. The 6 men have gone directly to Eugene's table. Clara is gone from the table. Who are these people? Eugene whispers to himself as he finally starts to run away farther from the coffee shop. Clara runs out of the train station and to a park right across the street. She needs a quiet place where she can meditate. She gets into a meditating position under an isolated tree, takes a deep breath, and closes her eyes. She tries to focus and remember as much as she can of Eugene's background and surroundings from earlier. She grabs pixels of images that filled up spaces not filled up with Eugene's image. Then she zooms out. Clara can now picture the coffee shop Eugene was at. Clara keeps zooming out and further out until she can make out the city where Eugene must be at. Then she zooms in, trying to look for Eugene. Short guy about 5'4" in a red sweatshirt and a backpack. Clara spots him briskly walking over half a mile west from the coffee shop. Clara quickly gets up and runs half a mile west from the train station. Clara arrives in the middle of a big square plaza out of breath. Where are you, Eugene? You gotta appear around here somewhere. Clara thinks to herself as she scans around the plaza for Eugene. Loud tire screeches can suddenly be heard. A shiny black van from a distance suddenly appears in line of where Clara is standing. The van is accelerating fast towards her. Then a sprinting Eugene appears next, several distances ahead of the van. Both the van and Eugene are running towards Clara. As soon as Eugene nears Clara, he jumps onto her, grabs her into an embrace, and ducks her to the ground. The last thing Eugene remembers is being chased by a black van in the middle of a market street. But at the moment, all he can hear is a high-pitched voice underneath him complaining about how heavy he is. Eugene lies on top of Clara on the ground, in the middle of what appears to be a square plaza, a big one that Eugene cannot recognize. The market street is gone, and so is the black van. I'm sorry, Eugene apologizes as he scurries to get off Clara and back up onto his feet. He helps Clara off the ground as well. Where are we? Welcome to my world, Clara says. You just penetrated the walls. The walls? The walls dividing our worlds. The walls that aren't supposed to be penetrated. That's why those men in black in the black van, the Ravens, are after you now, Clara explains. What are you talking about? Eugene asks. Your world and my world coexist within the same space and time, but we are separated by walls. Invisible walls that protect our worlds from being seen, heard, smelled, tasted, or touched by each other. And those walls are maintained and protected by the Ravens, who I believe exists in both your world and my world. Nobody is supposed to find out the existence of one another's world. That's why people like you and me get hunted and eliminated, Clara explains. By you and me, you mean people who can sense the other world? People with sixth sense? Eugene clarifies. How do you know all these? They did it to my sister. They killed her. After a short silence of somberness, Eugene asks the unavoidable, "So, what happens now?" "There's an army of people like you and me to take down the ravens. Join us. We could use your help. You're the first one known to have penetrated the walls." "Hold on 1 second. Are you trying to form a revolution? I'm just a kid, and so are you. I need to go home." Before Eugene can even finish his sentence, Clara interrupts him. "Do you really think you can still go home after what just happened? You just penetrated the walls and came into a world you're not supposed to be in. You're being hunted right now, top of the list, and you probably want to keep your family safe by not going home. Your call," Clara points out before starting to walk away from Eugene. After a long deliberation, Eugene follows and catches up to Clara. "Hold on. Wait for me."